What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's discussion video, we have some pretty massive news to talk about, both in regards to Transformers Rise of the Beast movie line figures, and there's also a tiny bit of character speculation, which I'm going to get into in just a second. But before we discuss that, we have to very quickly touch base with two brand new Transformers Legacy Year 3 listings, those being the second wave of core class, and they're definitely some bold choices. So first up, we have Beast Wars Dinobot, and then the second entry is going to be a Beast Machines Cheetor. Now, I personally never in a million years would have thought we would be seeing a Beast Machines Cheetor in the core class, and you know, it just seems like every single year we get into Transformers Legacy, they're getting bolder and bolder with their character selection. It really does make you wonder who they're going to pick for the Deluxe, Voyager and Leader assortment, and even the Commander and Titan for next year, because I think after they've done the Nemesis this year, that pretty much rounds off the bulk G1 cast that they can choose from. So yeah, very much so looking forward to Legacy Year 3, and I'm not complaining with their bold character selection, because up until a few years ago it was literally just G1 rinse and repeat. So it's really cool to see them branching off into different universes, and yeah, Beast Wars Dinobot and Beast Machines Cheetor. Now we're going to get stuck into the super juicy part of the video, that being Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and we are starting off massive. So a few days ago, a Titan Changer was spotted at retail. It's basically a repack of, I think, a Cyberverse Megatron, but whilst the figure wasn't too interesting, the CGI render which was slapped on the box definitely was, and it was indeed a kind of scrapped, cancelled design of what Megatron would have looked like had he appeared in the Bumblebee movie. And then this was further confirmed by 3-0, who said they did kind of have a few assets to work with in regards to a Bumblebee movie Megatron design, but it was literally just the upper torso. There was no detailing on the back, there was no leg detail at all, so in the end that design was scrapped, and considering he never made it into the movie, a kind of full CGI render of Megatron was never produced. But considering we're now seeing this CGI render for Transformers Rise of the Beast toys, considering this was completely absent for any of the Bumblebee movie merchandise, is this a pretty good indication that this design maybe could resurface for the upcoming movie? You know, I'm so hopeful that it will. I definitely think Megatron will make his appearance in Rise of the Beast, because the biggest issue that many fans had with Bumblebee was that it was the first live action movie not to feature any kind of Megatron in it. I mean, he was completely absent from the film, and personally I don't think Paramount would make the same mistake twice. You know, Megatron is the big bad leader of the Decepticons. It would just be so awesome if, you know, maybe in an end credit sequence we got some kind of tease that maybe he could appear in the next live action movie. So yeah, you know, it looks awesome. It's a fantastic recreation of the G1 Megatron design, and you know, much like the Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime, a great adaptation from G1 into live action. I mean, it looks fantastic. I hope that sooner rather than later we can kind of see this in a full CGI body render, because I would love to see the detailing on the back, you know, the legs. Will he come with his iconic G1 fusion cannon? To be honest, I don't think that's a detail they would miss, considering they've stuck very faithful with that bucket head design. So yeah, this Megatron looks awesome, and I really do hope he appears in the upcoming movie, and this toy is a pretty good indication that maybe he will. And sticking with kind of CGI renders, we also got, I think, our first proper official render of how Optimus Primal should look in the robot mode. You know, we very briefly saw him transform in the last trailer, which took place in December. I mean, come on, Paramount, 4 months ago since our last big trailer, but here we have a great image of Optimus Primal in the bot mode, and I'm going to be real with you guys, I absolutely love his design. You know, I would have maybe liked to have seen a bit more blue in the chest and, you know, maybe a little bit of red, but for a live action movie Primal, this thing looks nuts. He has the mouth shield, you know, we've got some of that fur patches on the shoulders. I just love the way this Optimus Primal looks, and I hope we get a better look of him in the next trailer, which I'm hoping will come out sooner rather than later. But that pretty much covers all of the CGI render news. Now we're going to get stuck into some movie line talk, and again, we're starting off big, because here we have the official look at Beast Mode Optimus Prime. Now, we recently saw a look at the Beast Mode Bumblebee. Whether or not these characters are going to look like this in the movie, you know, if this is a potential spoiler, is yet to be seen, but there have been some rumors that Bumblebee will kind of go through a transformation in the movie, so maybe this is kind of treading into spoiler territory. You know, just take it with a grain of salt. But here we have Beast Mode Optimus Prime, and in terms of the packaging, I mean, it looks fantastic. You have Optimus smack bang in center, but what is that in the chest, you guys may be wondering? And as far as I can tell, it's the head of Leo Prime, or Leo Convoy. He's literally slap bang in center, which is kind of strange, and to be honest, I'm kind of more believing into the Beast Mode Bumblebee idea than the Beast Mode Optimus Prime. I just can't really see this lion poking its head out of Prime's chest in the movie. I mean, maybe it will, and when we take a look at what vehicle mode they decided to choose from, it does kind of make you wonder as to whether or not these characters are going to have a different alt form in the movie, because we've also seen a few other Optimus Prime figures which have this kind of Beast Hunters-esque truck, and this Beast Mode Optimus also has that same truck, and if anything, this is the best looking one we've seen, because this actually looks quite realistic. You know, I'm willing to bet that if it was to appear in the movie, it would look more like this than some of the battle changes that I've recently checked out over on the channel. I mean, it looks very nicely detailed. We do see the Energon blade, which we know Optimus is going to use in the movie, judging by that last trailer. So, you know, maybe Beast Mode Optimus Prime is something that's going to appear in the movie, but I'm going to be real with you guys. If Leo Prime's head pokes out of the chest, honestly, that's just going to be so strange. But there's also another image here of Prime just in his standard robot mode, and I think this guy looks pretty cool. I'm willing to bet that these are going to be kind of the old school leader class figures. It says that they're going to come with electronic lights and sounds, so I guess they'll be pretty fun to pick up. But that isn't it for Movieline news, because the toys are literally scheduled to hit shelves in a couple of days, and we have here confirmation that there will be a single carded release of Mirage and pretty much the rest of the Movieline toys that we've seen already, which I'll get into in just a second. But yeah, I mean, fantastic that there is going to be an actual Mirage figure on the market, because up until this point, his toys have been so scarce. I mean, there's literally been no Mirage figures in the first wave of Rise of the Beast, which kind of sucks considering they seem to be promoting that character like nobody's business. I mean, he even had a whole Super Bowl TV spot a few months back, and it seems to me like he's getting more exposure than Bumblebee, which if you were to go back to previous years, you know, Bumblebee always gets the most exposure. So yeah, you know, it's cool to see that we are finally going to be seeing some additional Mirage toys out there on the market. And whilst we're talking about kind of Movieline figures, we will be getting individual releases of Wheeljack, aka Pablo, or Elton John as I like to call him, and also an individual release of Nightbird. So, you know, maybe if you're not keen on picking up the whole Jungle Mission 3-pack like we've seen scattered around in a few targets, then you can kind of cherry pick the best figures out of the wave, and this is going to be great for those that perhaps are not too good when compared to their Studio Series counterparts. You know, maybe if you like the Movieline Nightbird over the Studio Series version, you don't then have to go and buy the 3-pack of Cheetah, Nightbird and Wheeljack just to get one character. So I think that's really cool. And now we're also going to get stuck into some even cooler news. So here we have some of the gimmicky Movieline figures, which I've also reviewed a few of over on the channel, and to be fair, I think they're great. I know some of you guys don't like them too much, but for basic Transformers, I think they're some of the best that we've seen for the live action movies in quite some time, and these confirm that we're going to be getting battle changes of Mirage, Scourge, and then a repack version of Bumblebee. And, you know, the image is very tiny, but that battle change of Scourge actually looks pretty awesome, and it's quite bizarre because just this morning I was thinking to myself, surely there isn't just going to be one Scourge figure on the market, that being the Studio Series version. So it is cool that he too, much like Mirage, is going to get a bit more exposure, and that there are going to be a few other figures of him. But as you guys all know, inside the main movie line, there were a few kind of subcategories, one of those being Beast Combiner 2-packs, and again, Scourge is going to be getting that treatment because we have our first 2-pack of Scourge, and it says here that he's going to include Scorponok. So another great indication that Scorponok will actually appear in the movie. So I guess that means Scorponok's also getting 2 toys. There's also kind of an individual, I want to say, weaponizer version of him coming out, and then there's going to be this combining version. But judging by this image, this looks fantastic, and I think this may be the best combining 2-pack that we've seen for the movie line so far, because that Scorponok looks freaking awesome. Now, unlike the other version, this won't transform into a robot. It's literally just going to have the Scorpion mode. You know, if you've checked out my Optimus Prime on Skullcruncher review, you know, the Beast doesn't actually transform. It literally does just armor up the other character. So, you know, that's fine, and you know, 9 times out of 10 this is not a gimmick that we're going to see in the movie. But if I were to hope we were going to see this, I would love to see Scourge kind of just take Scorponok, you know, maybe kill him and then wear his armor, much like we saw from Jet Powered Prime from the Revenge of the Fallen movie. But straying away from some of the more basic movie line figures, we have some proper concrete confirmation of 2 upcoming Movieline Voyagers, those being Rhinox and Optimus Primal. Now, we're going to very quickly talk through Rhinox because I've previously discussed him a few months back. You know, I think this is a really cool figure, but I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't think this looks better than the Smash Changer, which I recently reviewed. I know that's going to be a little controversial, but that Smash Changer was incredibly detailed and painted for its kind of scale class, and this Voyager version, I think in the paint department, kind of pales in comparison. I mean, it is a decent looking robot mode, but, you know, I was kind of hoping for a little more. Maybe the Studio Series version will look a little cooler. Unlike the Smash Changer, though, he does include weapons, those being those classic kind of spinning Gatling guns that Rhinox had in Beast Wars, so that's pretty cool. Here we have an image of him in the Rhino mode, which again, I think the Smash Changer kind of did a little better job with, because this does just look very blocky. I mean, I'm going to reserve my final judgment for when I get this guy in hand, but first impressions, you know, they're kind of mediocre. He looks okay, very nice detail in the Rhino head, but Rhinox isn't even the biggest talking point out of these proper Voyager movie line figures, because finally we have a proper version of Optimus Primal. You know, for the longest time we've been checking out a few of the basic movie line figures, but here we actually have a Voyager figure, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think this looks fantastic. I've seen a few comments out there online saying this looks rubbish. Honestly, I personally can't really see those qualms, because if you compare this robot mode to the actual CGI render that we recently just discussed, I think this looks pretty faithful. And then when you take a look at some of the past movie line deluxe figures such as Cheetah and Air Razor, which are very inaccurate to how they appear in the trailer, again, I think this Optimus Primal is actually really nicely done. So here's an image of him in the robot mode. You know, he comes with those classic dual swords, again, like we saw in the trailer. I think you can wedge them into one hand to kind of create the combined form, so that's pretty sweet. He does have the mouthpiece, so that's awesome. And then we get an even better image of him in the beast mode, which I think looks fantastic. I really like the way this guy looks. The biggest inaccuracy that I can see is that the eyes are not painted green like they are in the trailer, but that's literally just a control art issue. These figures were probably made months, even years in advance of when they're actually going to be hitting the shelf. So yeah, this guy looks sick. You know, it just makes me super hyped for the upcoming Studio Series leader, because if they were able to accomplish this much in a Voyager, I can only imagine how the leader version is going to turn out. And for the moment, that pretty much wraps up all of the main Voyagers for the movie line. We get some better images of some of those kind of battle changers. So here we have the battle changer Mirage. It does just seem that unfortunately all of the Mirage figures are going to be very inaccurate, because this head sculpt reminds me more of the 2007 Doritos Starscream than Mirage as we saw in the latest Super Bowl trailer. But you know what, the robot mode doesn't look terrible. I imagine this thing's going to transform in what, like 11 steps, 10 steps or something. So yeah, not too bad at all. And we get an even better image of how Scourge is going to look. And again, for a battle changer, I don't think that truck mode looks bad at all. The rear of the kibble, to be fair, is just a very basic version of the Studio Series version, because the claw and the feet end up in the same place as the Studio Series version. They just don't have the extra tooling to fold away like that bigger and much more expensive release. Although I have got to say, I'm not too sure what the inspiration was behind that color scheme, because it does look awful. It's kind of greenish and then gold. It does just look really, really bad. And then the final figure, which we're going to discuss, unless there are some surprise drops, which who knows, there may be, is a Wheeljack and Rhinox Weaponizer 2-pack. Now, again, the Weaponizers I think are really awesome. I think that this Rhinox figure is a direct repack of the Beast Battle Master, which is a part of Wave 1, which is also out at retail, and I'll also have a review for that going up fairly shortly. So maybe if you plan on picking up this set and you don't want two versions of Rhinox, hold out on that single version of Rhinox until you pick this up. But I think this Wheeljack for a kind of gimmick figure also looks pretty cool, you know. The design at this point, I think it's just something we have to get used to. It seems like Paramount are set on giving this as our Wheeljack design, and I personally really like it. I know there are some of you that hate the head design, and I can kind of understand as to why, because it's such a simple and easy fix. I mean, why couldn't they just have kept the body and then smacked the B-movie Wheeljack head? Personally, I like that we're seeing something different, but, you know, that's a whole discussion for another day. I think this looks really cool, you know, pretty nicely detailed. The back kibble, you know, does leave a little bit to be desired, but then when we check out the back of the box, it seems like you can stow that away. So yeah, pretty cool looking Weaponizer figure. You know, as I've said before, I think these movie line figures are absolutely fantastic. I'd love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below. You know, out of all of the reveals that we've discussed today, which is your personal favourite? And will you guys be purchasing any of the more basic movie line figures? Or are you going to be strictly sticking to the likes of the Deluxes, Voyagers or Leaders? Or are you just going to be super strict and just stick with Studio Series? I'd love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below. And until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.